Probando cabina inglés, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. ¿Me escuchaste, José?
La agricultura de nuestra América enfrenta un cambio de paradigma. El sector agropecuario está en plena transformación. Tiene un papel protagónico como garante del desarrollo económico y como impulsor de innovaciones y nuevas tecnologías. También como gran proveedor de soluciones a los problemas acuciantes de nuestro planeta, la inseguridad alimentaria y nutricional y las crisis poblacional, energética y ambiental. Nuestro hemisferio necesita una agricultura más productiva, inclusiva, resiliente, moderna y con gran participación de jóvenes y mujeres. El Instituto Interamericano de Cooperación para la Agricultura, ICA, trabaja para construir esa visión renovadora de la agricultura que alimente el hemisferio y el mundo, que genere oportunidades de desarrollo para los productores y los territorios rurales. Con el objetivo de cumplir con estos propósitos, el IICA promueve esa nueva visión a través de una plataforma hemisférica de gestión del conocimiento que transforma y prioriza la cooperación triangular y horizontal. Una hoja de ruta apoyada en 5 programas estratégicos guía el trabajo del IICA: bioeconomía y desarrollo productivo, cambio climático, recursos naturales y gestión de riesgos productivos, sanidad agropecuaria, inocuidad y calidad de los alimentos, desarrollo territorial y agricultura familiar, y comercio internacional e integración regional. 2 ejes son transversales a estos programas: género y juventud e innovación y tecnología. El IICA es un organismo de puertas abiertas. que busca estrechar lazos con su comunidad y con las nuevas generaciones. Impulsa la creación del CIMAD, una fuerte propuesta educativa sobre las tecnologías que ya modernizan el agro. También construye la Plaza de la Agricultura de las Américas, un proyecto de interés público reconocido por el gobierno de Costa Rica. Cuenta con una casa rural, un espacio para el diálogo sobre la agricultura entre distintas generaciones, y alberga un Fab Lab, especializado en la innovación tecnológica para reducir la brecha digital rural. Con 34 países miembros en las Américas, España como país asociado y 19 países observadores, el IICA, organismo del Sistema Interamericano Especializado fundado en 1942, tiene la misión de estimular, promover y apoyar los esfuerzos de los Estados miembros para su desarrollo agrícola y el bienestar rural, a través de la cooperación técnica de excelencia. Su máximo organismo de gobierno es la Junta Interamericana de Agricultura, conformada por los ministros encargados de Agricultura del hemisferio, quienes eligen al director general del IICA. El IICA ayuda a fortalecer la institucionalidad vinculada al agro, capacita, apoya en la formulación y la mejora de políticas públicas, desarrolla proyectos, comparte experiencias con los países y promueve la articulación de los actores del sector agrícola, incluyendo el diálogo público-privado. El IICA es una institución puente, vincula países, regiones y temas, trabaja con organismos internacionales y con la sociedad civil organizada. El IICA trabaja por el agro del futuro y por el futuro del agro. El IICA es la Casa de la Agricultura de las Américas.
Buenas tardes, honorable señora.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In a few more moments, we will be beginning this ceremony. Thank you for being here. Good evening. Was that my turn? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA, is pleased to greet you and to extend you a warm welcome to this meeting of the Ministers of Agriculture of the Americas and the 20th regular meeting of the Inter-American Board of Agriculture for 2019. This meeting is taking place in the framework of the celebration of the 77th anniversary of the creation of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture in Costa Rica and for the Americas. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise with me to welcome Mr. Carlos Alvarado Quesada, President of Costa Rica.
Nos mantenemos de pie.
Please remain standing so we can sing the national anthem of the Republic of Costa Rica. Please be seated. Here at the head table with us, we want to greet Mr. Carlos Alvarado Quesada, President of the Republic of Costa Rica. Mr. Juanuel Ventura Robles, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Worship of the Republic of Costa Rica. Mr. Renato Alvarado Rivera, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock of the Republic of Costa Rica. Mr. Manuel Otero, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA. We would also like to extend greetings to the Honorable Ministers of Agriculture of the Ministers of the Americas that are member states of ICA and heads of delegation. We would also like to greet the members of your official delegations to the Associated State of the Kingdom of Spain and the observers of ICA, the ambassadors and heads of international organizations accredited to the Republic of Costa Rica, the ministers of the Republic of Costa Rica high-level authorities from the Honorable Government of Costa Rica, the Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization, the Honorable Directors General Emeritus of ICA, and your wives, the representatives of companies and institutions that cooperate with ICA, and those that today will be signing organizations with the organization, to the management staff, to the employees of ICA in Costa Rica, to the Office of the Representation in Costa Rica, and also the communities, other members of the ICA community, high-level national and international authorities, the local and international press, and those who are following through the social media and over our website, www.iica.int. All of you are most welcome to this ceremony. We will now proceed with the inauguration with words of welcome from Mr. Manuel Otero, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA. Mr. President of Costa Rica, Dr. Carlos Alvarado, ministers, secretaries, deputy ministers, heads and members of delegations, members of the diplomatic corps accredited to Costa Rica, directors emeritus, my wife Vicky, special guests, ladies and gentlemen of the press, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Costa Rica, a land of peace and progress, where we will be holding the 20th meeting of the Inter-American Board of Agriculture, so we can discuss substantive issues related to agricultural and rural development in our hemisphere. This city, the capital of this wonderful country that has been ICA's home for almost 8 decades, will serve as the setting for extremely relevant discussions on the future of agriculture, for the promotion of trade, and for finding ways to help the small-scale producers access regional and international markets, to incorporate more technology and boost their capacity and their skills so that they can produce much more sustainably. Above all, it will be an important meeting for addressing issues of the rural areas of our part of the world and incorporating it into the global agenda. I should reiterate the fact that agriculture provides in-depth solutions to the critical issues facing human civilization and our planet: environmental challenges, extreme weather events, energy crisis, food and nutritional insecurity, pressure on natural resources and biodiversity, poverty, massive migration. All these issues can have a common denominator so that for solving them, relieving them, or at least mitigating them. And that common denominator is agriculture. In areas where different issues overwhelm and pressure our region and the world, agriculture emerges as an inseparable part of the solutions to a troubling reality. Our institution undertakes efforts to ensure that this activity holds top priority on political agendas in this part of the world, given the fact that agriculture, together with education, represent the most effective way to overcome structural poverty and therefore can represent the best possible social policy. 2 years ago, in this same place, when I was honored to be elected by the Inter-American Board of Agriculture as Director General of ICA, at that time we were focused on overcoming the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria, especially in Dominica. 3,000 deaths, destroyed families, damaged goods, and a painful process for reconstructing infrastructure and production systems in which ICA has always sought ways to contribute. 2 years later, we are now mourning irreparable human loss and the destruction of materials and production as a result of Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Michael Pintard, Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources of Bahamas, who survived this catastrophe and is here to bear witness to the importance of addressing pressing issues for our region and our planet. In this context, I wish to assure you, Mr. Minister, that we all stand in solidarity with your country. In addition to acknowledging these recent and ongoing tragedies, I want to congratulate our host country of Costa Rica, represented by its president, Carlos Alvarado, on having received the highest environmental award of the UN system, Champion of the Earth. In recognition of his country's and all of his countrymen and countrywomen's preservation and decarbonization efforts, for which the country and the world acknowledge you. Taking the example of Costa Rica, whose state policies support these efforts, I want to highlight once again the strategic role that agriculture plays in recarbonizing our soils. Our production systems are based on good practices. Far from being the villain, agriculture is in a position to make valuable contributions to health of our planet, and instead generating carbon credits. For these reasons, in a world that must overcome the challenge of producing more with less, and which must feed 10 billion people in the year 2050, we reiterate the idea that modern sustainable agriculture based on technology is a key part of the solution rather than the problem. This is the vision we have been conveying and aiming to achieve since I took over the reins of ICA last year, placing special emphasis on the crucial role that agriculture in the Americas must play in the global agenda. This is a natural role, considering that our part of the world makes up 26% of the world's agricultural trade and has consolidated its standing as the world's greatest net exporter of food. Our region's enviable wealth of natural resources and its continuous incorporation of technology means that the Americas must fulfill the responsibility and rise to the challenge of playing a critical role in guaranteeing the planet's food security and environmental sustainability. This is an opportunity that we must not miss, and I say this with deep conviction. Now is the time for agriculture in the Americas to shine, for all our production models to transition toward more inclusive, competitive, and sustainable systems, and do so without delay. Now is also the time to turn our gaze toward rural areas, to break the vicious cycle of poverty and exclusion, and instead to transform them into areas of opportunity, places that can foster social progress and generate high-quality employment. The Swedish Academy recently awarded the Nobel Prize for Economics to Banjari, Duflo, and Kramer Pressicel for their efforts in this regard. We are reassured by the recognition that has been given to this vision, the idea that better institutional frameworks and collective bargaining reduce the costs and facilitate access to technologies, which in turn enable our farmers to achieve greater income. And that is our own vision as well. We work together with the countries to raise awareness of the importance of guaranteeing better living conditions and greater equity for rural dwellers as a means to reverse the problems that force farmers to abandon their farms and migrate. To this end, it is especially important to place special emphasis on women and youth, which are key sectors for ICA. Ministers, secretaries, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we must move quickly to discard the conservative and pessimistic image that limits agriculture to nothing more than a supplier of raw materials for global value chains. Instead, we must adopt a new and improved vision, one that reassesses traditional agriculture in our hemisphere and strengthens its role as a platform for smart industrialization within our societies. This transformative vision would allow us to convert the rural Americas into a factory of food, bioenergy, biomaterials, probiotics, and nutraceuticals. We require an updated and modern ICA in order to respond to these changes, which have an impact on agriculture and hemispheric and global levels. We have steered this ship in that direction as part of this new chapter for agriculture. We have undertaken measures to increase austerity, decrease bureaucracy, boost flexibility, and adopt a process culture with the aim of channeling resources toward truly productive activities. Additionally, we have developed 5 technical programs and 2 cross-cutting issues to provide responses to countries' real needs. This is the basis of our work. Our work is based on the idea that agricultural activity generates new opportunities while breaking traditional boundaries. Within this context, ICA 4.0 emerges as a platform to disseminate and defend our continent's agricultural and rural agenda. We are fostering greater interaction with the private, scientific, and academic sectors in an effort to transform ICA into a network of networks that integrates and coordinates diverse knowledge and strengthens it, thereby fostering a smart, socially conscious, and environmentally responsible agricultural sector. Our efforts to increase linkages with new partners is a pillar of our administration. It also has a transformational effect by converting ICA into a great hemispheric knowledge management platform. We are thus able to fully capitalize on our institutional role by linking available knowledge and existing needs in order to provide the agricultural sector and rural areas with innovative, practical solutions. This modernization process at the conceptual and management levels is manifested in the inauguration of the Interpretive Center for Tomorrow's Agriculture and the opening of the traditional rural house at ICA headquarters. We've inaugurated the first Fab Lab for agriculture and launched ICA Microsoft Play. We will also be implementing important technical cooperation initiatives such as the Hemispheric Bioeconomy and Agritech networks, as well as the establishment of new partnerships with the private sector, civil society, and academic sectors. This Conference of the Ministers of Agriculture of the Americas holds special significance for our institution. We will shine the spotlight on matters that give meaning to the slogan of the conference that is beginning, Cultivating Tomorrow's Agriculture Today. All these topics that will be discussed during the ministerial forums are important to the country's rural inclusion in the digital age. The balance between competitiveness and sustainability and market access as it relates to health. Last but not least, during the meeting of the Inter-American Board of Agriculture that will be held on the 31st, we hope to approve the 2020 through 2021 budget and lay the foundation for a renewed partnership with Cartier. This valuable forum will provide us with an opportunity to engage in discussions, reach agreements, and address the most pressing issues on the hemisphere's agricultural agenda. President Alvarado, ladies and gentlemen, I assure you that the ICA that welcomes you here today stands ready to face the current challenges of our agriculture sector. In doing so, the Institute will launch a crucial modernization process involving institutional reforms designed to provide countries with more and better solutions. For thousands of years, agriculture has represented our passport to the future, and the same holds true today. We are better prepared than ever before to achieve this goal. Before I close, I would like to say that I feel especially honored to be the 11th Director General of this institution. And this evening, I would particularly like to extend my greetings to the Directors America, Dr. Martin Pinedo, who made it possible for me to come into ICA, Chelson Brathwaite, and Victor Villalobos, who is currently Secretary of Agriculture of Mexico. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for the opportunity to have worked with you and to continue down the same path that all of you opened. President Alvarado, once again, thank you for having us here. It's an honor for this institution, which has been working on sustainable development, to be in a country that is making these things a reality. It's encouraging to us. Welcome, everyone, and thank you. We will now hear from Renato Alvarado Rivera, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock of the Republic of Costa Rica.
Good afternoon, all. Honorable Carlos Alvarado, President of the Republic. Honorable Domitila Canciller, Foreign Minister of Costa Rica, Mr. Alvarado, Director General of the ICA, Secretaries, Ministers, delegations of the agriculture sector of countries, members of the diplomatic corps, guests of international organizations, friends of ICAO. For an event such as this, we make an effort and we prepare a speech, and we try to express what we hold or we have in our hearts, because agriculture is a means of life. It is not merely a business. For many years, we've talked about the need to place agriculture and make it in step with our times, to develop technology, to develop innovation, to make it more efficient, more effective, because we do have the challenge of feeding the populations of the world. Today, family-driven agriculture represents more than 500 million people who are trying to extract from the earth benefits that will feed this population that is growing every day, growing at a rate that is unending and which we have to feed. We ask our farmers every day to make more and more sacrifices, more compromise, and stoically they live up to this challenge, and they make these compromises, and day by day they make great efforts, and they try to comply with a very difficult task that is assigned to them, that is that of feeding humanity. We, the states, have a responsibility to these people who are bending in the sun to produce the food that we have on our tables 3 times a day, 365 days a year. But the task is not over, it's not finished. There's much to be done so that we can attend to the needs of this population that is now plowing, working on the land. We have not been able to compensate the efforts historically have been made by these people who work the land. Those of us who have had the opportunity and the luck to be here discussing about the destiny of these people are privileged. But at the same time, we do have the responsibility to look and see these people and to ask ourselves whether we have indeed complied with the task set before us. That is the task that was given to us by those people who voted for these governments, to our governments, for our governments. Funding, sufficient resources to cultivate the land. That is what our farmers are asking for, not only technology, not only innovation, but opportunity. And I know that all of us here are making an effort to ensure that these resources do actually reach these farmers. International policies for development have exposed our farmers to internationalization. And we have had them competing on a playing field that's not level. It is unequal because of economies of scale, subsidies, agricultural subsidies in some countries where farmers in the developing countries do not have any possibility of competing on an equal footing because they do not have the same conditions. So it is not in vain that we see social explosion in some Latin American countries today in the face of very small events that become blown up into great social conflicts because of this inequality and the great gap between those haves and those have-nots. Our task, therefore, today has become far more complex than it was a few years ago. We have to bring technology, show the development for the fields, for the rural areas, to bring opportunities so that the young people and women in the rural areas can develop and can stay in these rural areas so that we can avoid the migration that we're seeing in our peoples, in our countries. And we should stop making the work of women invisible. We must give opportunities to the young people so that they will stay in the rural areas and so see it as a business and not a sacrifice that your own parents were not able to achieve. So if we do not change our policies, our development policies, and our trading policies in the world, there's little that we can do with technology to ensure that our farmers can progress. If we do not have just fair trade, if we do not have fair prices for these farmers, we will be condemning them to continue in poverty, the poverty to which they have been suffering so many years. This is the time for us to rethink things. We have to ensure that the way in which we do trade in the world have changed. The competition between the major transnationals all of this excludes family farmers, despite all our efforts to develop them with technology, development policies. The solution for agriculture is not only based on technology and development. It depends on a new conception of public international policy for trade and development. If we want to cultivate today agriculture for tomorrow, we must transform more. Because if we do not do this, we will not ensure that these farmers will make progress. Thank you so much.
El ICA se siente honrado.
ICA honored at this point to have remarks of the President of the Republic of Costa Rica, Carlos Alvarado. You have the floor.
Good evening. Good evening, Manuel Ventura, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Worship, Renato Alvarado, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock of Costa Rica, Manuel Otero, Director General of AICA, the ministers of the different countries of the Americas, deputy ministers, secretaries, deputy secretaries who are with us today. Also the diplomatic corps accredited to Costa Rica, representatives of ICA, special guests, friends, all. As president, I feel deeply honored and in fact delighted that Costa Rica is hosting this conference of ministers of agriculture in the Americas. I'm also very grateful to ICA, not only for offering the space for this meeting, but also for giving all of us the opportunity to share with you and to discuss in more depth. There are things in life that are so close to us that we actually stop seeing them. And we stop ascribing their true value to them. Maybe one of the things that we have closest to us, most obvious example, is agriculture, the agriculture sector. Minister Alvarado rightly said that everyone, all people, the entire human race, all of us depend every day of our lives on the work and the support of some farmer. when I talk to many of the people in the agricultural sector here in Costa Rica, and I assume your countries are the same in this sense. Over the course of your life, maybe once or twice, or maybe once a year, you might need the services of an attorney. Maybe once or twice you would hire an architect. Maybe sometime on some occasion you would need the service of a physician. But every single day of our lives, we need the services and the support of the agricultural sector, the farmers, the men and women of the field who produce every day, including those people who are the most needy. If you look at the statistics, the measurements, we see world studies of extreme poverty. We measure and we define extreme poverty as the minimum caloric intake per month per household or person in order to mark the difference between extreme poverty or basic survival. And that is what the definition is. It's based on food. Agriculture is so close to us that we overlook it. We forget how important it is. We take it for granted. We must never forget that civilization, that the human race was founded. It started with agriculture. We say that there was a time when we were hunter-gatherers, and then something happened. And we began to till the land. We began to create a different relationship, a synergy, a relationship of cooperation between the countryside and the city based on surplus production. Shortly prior to the process of industrialization, we started to see more production. And this made it possible for more people to migrate into the cities. This, in turn, created a symbiotic relationship between countryside and city. And that was also where the theory came from, which came up at that time, the Malthusian theory, which said that there would be insufficient food to feed everyone. It was we had a critical debate in the last century, in the 60s and the 70s, when we saw the beginning of what was known as the Green Revolution. What was the purpose of it? Exactly that, to feed the human race. And now, when we see a continuing population explosion, exerting more and more pressure on our planet, we find ourselves with the intimidating risk of feeding everyone. And at the same time, we understand that we need to do it on a sustainable basis. It would seem that in a scenario where you have so many mouths to feed, it would be a scenario of abundance. We should be able to produce for this many people. But it's the countryside, it's the rural areas, especially in Latin America, that suffers the most. When there is such a great need to feed people, the people who do it are suffering the most. It's terribly paradoxical. It seems to be paradoxical that something so close to us should be invisible. We, as human beings, quite literally are the ones who eat. And that's how we build our social fabric, our being, our existence. We build it on what we eat. And yet we don't care enough about it, or about the sector that deserves our attention. It is a big challenge. And especially to put it into action. We face large challenges. In Latin America, we have a great deal to learn from other countries, from other parts of the world, where the agricultural sector enjoys great dignity, and it also enjoys targeted policies for its development. Not long ago, I was speaking with major buyers of coffee one of their greatest concerns, and it's something that we're all concerned about as well, the average age of coffee producers is rising. It's the average right now is 50 years old. The concern of the buyers is who will produce coffee in the future? Who's going to grow it? I don't think any of us can imagine a world without coffee. At least I can't. Again, it's a formidable challenge. But the tools we have at hand are also formidable. And that is the purpose of this meeting of ministers. I also think that something else is formidable, which is the presence of strategic allies, such as the representatives of the tourism industry, which is a way to diversify our activities. It's a wonderful way to diversify it. Also, we have the academy with us, academics, research, in order to build more knowledge. We need to break away from those binary ideas where agriculture is considered antiquated. We think agriculture is the past. We need to associate agriculture with new activities, services, for example. The economic system of country is exactly that. It's a whole system, an overall system. If several components work very well, but another one is sick, the whole system is sick. It can't ride on one or two sectors. This is why it's so important for us to take care of our agricultural sectors, to make sure they grow, that they offer well-being, that they involve women and young people, that they have added value, that they have better technology, access to credit, cheap production credit, that learn new practices, that can become resilient to climate change, that can contribute, such as by using, for example, NAMA technologies or agroforestry technologies, and change our reality. And in this way, too, it can add value through aware consumers who understand that this is what makes the difference. The difference between the difference of having fresh food locally produced by a local farmer. Why does this make a difference in nutrition? Why does this make a difference on food safety? Why does it make a difference in trade? Aware consumers know that. And all of these things, I'm probably preaching to the choir at this point. You know more than I do, but in fact, maybe Renato, I've said enough. But I think that one of the most important contributions a government can make is to provide clear, decisive support to the agricultural sector. We have decided vigorously to support this sector. In Costa Rica, 12% of employment is produced by the agricultural sector. But if you take out the metropolitan area, the agricultural sector generates 33% of the employment, not including urban employment. There are 3 regions in this country where more than 50% of formal employment is agricultural. When people say this is a sector that provides only 12%, and so you may think it's not that important, but when you look at the country and find 3 regions where more than half of the employment is in agriculture, it tells you a different story. It shows you that this is a key sector for narrowing these inequalities among sectors, among regions. This is where we have to make sure there is access to technology and credit, access to the markets. It needs to be a sector that is attractive to young people, and it needs to be fair to women. Today, more than 80% of land ownership in Costa Rica, and you see this all over the region, is in the hands of men. That's a horrifying figure. And it's not a very clear reflection of the equality we like to talk about, but it's something that can be changed. We can change it if we're aware of it. So in the support that I want to extend to my Minister of Agriculture, because I know that you have hard work ahead of you, so I want to extend all of this to all of you. The same support I'm giving him, I extend to all of you, because what you will be doing, what you will be discussing, what you will be deciding on will be critical not only for the farmers in our entire region, but it will also be critical for all those people who build their lives and their being through the work that agriculture does. I hope that your work in the next couple of days will be very beneficial, that will be good for the region and for the agricultural sector. Good evening.
Muchas gracias.
Much, Honorable President of the public and members of the head table. At this point, we will have the official photograph. We'd therefore like to ask the distinguished ministers, agriculture and heads of delegation, as well as Secretary General of World Trade Organization, Minister of Tourism, Public Officer, representatives, organizations that will be signing this afternoon, the General Subdirector General, to accompany us at the head table.
Acompañan al escenario.
So then we have Carlos Alvarado, President of the Republic, is accompanied by Mr. Manuel Ventura Robles, Minister of Foreign Relations and Culture, Mr. Renato Alvarado Rivera, Minister of Agriculture, Livestock and Pasture, Honorable Mr. Manuel Otero, General.
Se les solicita mucho.
With very respectful to ask you to look, please look straight ahead at the topics.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much.
Rogamos a los excelentísimos.
We like to call honorable ministers and heads of delegation to be so kind as to resume their seats.
Seguidamente nos ponemos de pie.
We will now stand to, as the President of Costa Rica and Mr. Manuel Ventura Robles, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Culture of Costa Rica, take their leave.
Your Excellency.
Pueden sentarse.
You may be seated.
A continuación,
At this point, we will have the formalization of the following agreement of cooperation. The instruments show the importance for IGA of the strength of strategic partnerships in public and private spheres for the benefit of the agricultural sector of the countries, implementing projects of common interest and shared values that are expressed in the strategic declaration of IGA 2018-2022. We will now have the signing of the General Agreement of Technical Cooperation between 4H and the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, which we therefore invite to the head table Mrs. Sharon Bennett, Executive Director of the 4H organization.
firman el doctor
Signing Dr. Otero, Director General of ICA, and Mrs. Sharon Bennett, Executive Director of the 4H organization. This agreement is important that ensuring that young people will become major stakeholders and special subjects of the agricultural and rural development of the Americas. It is therefore important to generate synergies so to ensure the full participation of young people in equal opportunities and empowerment in institutional work of this organization.
A continuación, las palabras
At this point, we will hear from Dr. Manuel Odera, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture. Yes, I think that I have spoken enough. I just like to convey to Ms. Shannon Bennett and assure her that it is an honor for me to sign this agreement. I just like to assure her that I have a dream in a few months. I hope that we can have a hemispheric plan to ensure that the young people and the women in this area will be major protagonists in the development of the rural areas in order to change lives in the Americas. I'm very committed to this agreement, and on behalf of ICA, I'll make every effort to ensure that this will become a reality. Thank you so much.
seguidamente
Now, we will hear from Shannon Bennett, Executive Director of the 4H organization.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to join you this evening. I'm here representing the 4-H program from Canada, but I'm also joined by my colleagues from the US as well as Nicaragua. And together, the three of us actually are the representatives of the Americas to the Global 4-H Board. From a 4-H perspective, our program is present in more than 70 countries around the world. Thank you. And we work with nearly 7 million young people. The majority of those young people are in the Americas. So we're very excited about this partnership with ICA. Together with our 4-H partners in the Americas and the Caribbean, we are working to create leadership development and youth opportunities across the region, sub-region, and in individual countries through shared resources, tools, and programming, as well as with our partners, many of whom are in the room this evening. Through this partnership, it's really important that 4-H and ICA will advance the inclusion of youth leadership in areas such as agriculture, climate change, food security, and nutrition. We look forward to this very important partnership and to working with our networks of public and private partners to advance multi-stakeholder cooperation throughout the region to advance the development of youth leaders, accelerate the development in agriculture and rural communities, and advance the region as a whole. Thank you so much for your support.
muchas gracias.
Thank you. Mrs. Shannon Bennett, Executive Director of the 4-H organization, will now take the
A continuación,
At this point, we'll have the testimony of Mrs. Montserrat Prado, a young rural woman who is a partner and co-founder of Ditso. Honorable members of diplomatic corps, Costa Rica, ministers, secretaries of agriculture, representatives of international organizations, representatives of the private sector, Director General of ICA, special guests, a cordial greeting to you all. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Montserrat Prado Flores. I'm a farmer and I have been certified as a producer of specialist coffee. I come from Tarrasu, which is about 2.5 hours to the south of San Jose. Ditso Cafe is a small family holding, and we are all smart family company. We have the NAMA Cafe certification, which means that we produce coffee that is low in carbon emissions, and we also have the blue flag of the ecology, which in the agricultural category. Our reality is that, like many countries of the region of Tarrasu, we are a small company working on agriculture for the well-being of our in the region. I'd just like to tell you about some of my experience. It has been a very long road. We have worked not only the design and image of our coffee. We have had to work in the field for a whole year before the harvest. We worked in manufacture. We spent many hours in training, for example, how to cultivate coffee, the processing, food safety, administration, marketing, and many other sectors. We also had many doubts about how to do things. We came up against barriers, gender, or age. We also had to make great economic efforts and sacrifices. We had to join long lines for legalization and red tape. It has not been an easier road. However, we wanted to ensure professional reinvention. We had passion. We had great effort, and my family helped me and allowed me to overcome. I'd just like to encourage young people to start projects such as this one because these are key for looking and working in the agricultural and livestock sector in order to change ways that we work hand in hand with technology so that we can make it more attractive and more profitable and ensure economic recovery in the region. In order to do this, we have to overcome great obstacles. It is important to have the support of all of you in the decision making, and it's also making decisions and agreements by carrying out actions, for example, ensuring formalization of all of these companies through the reduction of bureaucratic red tape, having loans with low interest rates and favorable repayment conditions, as well as resources that are non-reimbursable, training and education to make our activity more professional and promote innovation, to ensure that agriculture, we can encourage precision agriculture to increase production and make sure that we have profitable agriculture, to facilitate infrastructure and equipment, to have environments that are protected and controlled, to introduce technology such as drones for the application of inputs in the fields, to ensure rural tourism as a complementary source of activity and income that will make the economy of the region far more dynamic, have openness to markets and marketing of our products, direct marketing with the final consumers, plans for adaptation to climate change using clean and renewable energies for productive activities, encouraging environmental friendly practices, and ensure the collaboration and tools that will facilitate all the young people, the possibility for young people to fall in love once more with agriculture and stay in the region so that they can contribute to the full development of their countries and the regions. We hope that we can work hand in hand with the government, with organizations, as well as the companies that are present here so that we can promote opportunities for young people and for women living in rural areas who are trying to find and get better opportunities for jobs. We'd like to congratulate and thank the ICA and its Director General, Mr. Manuel Otero, for giving me this opportunity to share with you my experience as a young woman farmer. Thank you.
Seguidamente,
Now we will have the signing of the cooperation agreement between the University of Costa Rica and ICA. We therefore invite to the table Dr. Henny Jensen, Rector of the University of Costa Rica.
firman por el ICA
Signing for ICA, we have Dr. Manuel Otero, and for the University of Costa Rica, Rector Henny Jensen.
la importancia
The importance of this agreement is based on the fact that scientific development and the generation of technological innovation is important for the present and future of agriculture in the Americas. The approach of transformation and change is important for generating better social conditions for the rural populations to ensure science and the application of new knowledge in science and the circular economy. It is for this reason that the University of Costa Rica and ICA are signing this agreement for ensuring a strengthened scientific and technological cooperation as well as technical cooperation and the implementation of projects of regional and national impact.
a continuación
Now, we'll have the comments by Dr. Henny Jensen, Rector of the University of Costa Rica.
Muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Livestock, Renato Alvarado. A very cordial greeting to Mr. Manuel Otero, Director General of ICA, and cordial greetings to all of you present. For the University of Costa Rica, it is a great honor to take part in this conference of Ministers of Agriculture of the Americas in 2019. In this context, we have signed the General Agreement for Technical Cooperation between our institution and the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, ICA. Within the framework of discussions on questions such as rural inclusion in the digital age, the balance between productivity and sustainability, and the interaction between health and international trade. My organization, my university, is an institution that makes significant contributions to these questions, the issues that are key for the agricultural sector. As we are aware, our countries have many challenges. Many of these pertain to the supply of food and food security, consequences of climate change, and the challenges that are inherent in societies that are in a state of change. We must continue to promote social justice, especially for those communities that are most vulnerable and which often include those that work on the land and work in the rural areas. The agreement that we have just signed will give us opportunity to cooperate as a higher educational institution, and which seeks to achieve the objectives that we all share, the objectives that we all have. It is at a time when the United Nations organization has set forth the global objectives, global targets that we have to work towards in our countries for the next few years, so that we can have a development which is truly sustainable and ensure social equity and justice that so many of our people are striving for. From the University of Costa Rica, we have tried to generate knowledge at a high level as a part of the higher level studies UCREA Institute, where multi, inter, and transdisciplinary issues that have a social impact may become projects with many partnerships at the national and international levels. And for this reason, from our institution and from this space that is of higher learning, and from all of the research institutes and institutes of higher learning, which make up a wide-ranging and complex group, we have great expectations for cooperation with ICA at this point. We hope that through these agreements, we will contribute effectively to rural and agricultural development in the hemisphere with an approach on research and technical cooperation. And we think that this should be a means of achieving the prosperity that our countries and our people wish for and need. To all of the members and to all of the ministers of agriculture and representatives of the 34 member states of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation in Agriculture, which is we're now meeting from today at the conference. I wish you every success. I'm sure that you will be sharing many of the common issues of concern that are part of the lives of our societies. These are issues that concern so many of our inhabitants. But we all see the hope for a better world. Thank you so much.
Seguidamente,
Now, we'll be hearing from Dr. Manuel Otero, Director General of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture. I would just simply like to say that when I came to Costa Rica for the first time in 1976, you can look guess from that my age is. And the master's program, I learned quite much about University of Costa Rica. I learned many of the professors, and I learned much of the prestige of that institution, prestige that is growing. And we know that our community, they are a community that work, and their actions are for the benefit of people living in the rural areas. We need not rethink. We need to rethink our paradigms, and we have to think about have new means and approaches. We are working together with civil society and rural areas and so on, and I'm therefore pleased at the signing of this agreement. Thank you very much.
Despedimos al señor rector de la Universidad de Costa Rica.
The distinguished rector of the University of Costa Rica will now take his leave.
Seguidamente se
Now, we'll have the signing of the memorandum of understanding between Corteva AgriScience and ICA. I therefore invite to the main table Mrs. Ana Claudia Soli, President of the Mesoamerican region of Corteva AgriScience.
suscriben en este acto
Signing in this for ICA is the Director General, Dr. Manuel Otero, and for Corteva AgriScience, Mrs. Ana Claudia Soli, President of the Mesoamerican and Andean Corteva AgriScience.
tanto Corteva
Corteva AgriScience and ICA do recognize the important role played by public and private partnerships in the development of agriculture, since it allows them to facilitate access to markets, improve competitiveness of agribusiness, increase productiveness, and increase the access of inputs. Therefore, these institutions are signing this instrument in order to identify and work in areas of continued mutual interest for the development of agriculture and the well-being of the rural areas of the Americas. Now we will hear from Mrs. Ana Claudia Serasori, President of Corteva AgriScience. Good afternoon to you all. I'm very happy to be here today with all of you. I just wanted to express my thanks to ICA for having included us in this important event. To Director General Manuel Otero, I'm very happy and very grateful for what has been done to welcome us. And we're very, very grateful indeed for the very important work that ICA has been doing in the region in order to help agricultures in their communities, to empower rural women, facilitate market access, increase productivity, and improve access to agricultural technology. This memorandum that we are signing today will be a basis to expand our association or partnership with ICA. This agreement is a formal recognition of our partnership, and it's an opening of doors for greater collaboration. Indeed, we have already cooperated in many very important initiatives that have to do with the empowerment of rural women, including the book called Luchadoras or Fighters, which was recently published and which include authors such as Belinda Gates. In Corteva, we are very committed to enrich the lives of those who produce, who till the soil, as well as those who consume, to ensure the progress of future generations. Partnerships such as these with ICA, which we had with the USAID, NCGI, IR, and many other NGOs dedicated to agricultural development, are very key for my organization's efforts to empower the farmers in our communities. In conclusion, I would like to thank all of the members present, everyone present, witnessing this signing, and I just like to ensure you that you're an important part of all of our efforts. farmers, and you're key for allowing for the development of rural agricultural communities. In Corteva, we are very interested in this region, and we hope to continue to partner with all of you in order to enrich the lives of our farmers. Thank you.
Seguidamente,
Now we will hear from Dr. Manuel Otero, Director General. I think it is quite clear that the owners of ICA are the ministers of agriculture that make up the Inter-American Board of Agriculture, but it is no less true that very often in the private sector, these are the owners of lands, and these are the people who take risks to promote technology and innovation. I therefore like to continue an action that was started with the administration of Dr. Villalobos by trying to ensure greater links with the private sector. In Corteva, as far as Corteva is concerned, that I just like to note that in this period, the launching of the book, I think that this book, La Luchadoras, had been very important. In October, we were at the headquarters of Corteva and had the honor of meeting CEO Jim Collins, who is a humble person, but a person with great ambition. And I'm sure that ICA and Corteva will do great things in the interest of the farmers. We want to ensure a great transformation in our rural areas. Thank you.
despedimos a la señora
Mrs. Terasoli from Corteva will now take her leave.
A continuación se firmó
Now we'll be signing the memorandum of understanding between the World International Labour Organization and ICA, where they proposed to Mr. Surab Poliklishlavi, Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization.
También nos sentimos honrados.
Well, we are also honored by the presence of Mrs. Maria Mari Revelo, Minister of Tourism of the Republic of Costa Rica, to whom we convey our greetings.
A continuación firma el doctor Manuel Otero.
We will now have the signing of this memorandum of understanding by Mr. Manuel Otero and Mr. Surab Poliklishlavi, the Secretary General of the UNWTO, World Tourism Organization. This agreement is very important to ensure the development of sustainable tourism and its link to culture in the Americas. This is one of the main areas for the economic insertion and the environmental sustainability of the rural areas, workers in the rural areas. It's with implementation, innovation, and strategies of agribusiness that will have an impact on the generation of work in the rural areas and attraction of investment and the linking of agricultural chains with the tourist sectors in order to increase competitiveness in the value chains of the territories. Now we will hear from Mr. Surab Poliklishlavi, Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Good evening, Director General, Mr. Minister, Ministers. It is a pleasure and indeed an honor to be here with you for the World Tourism Organization. Today is a landmark day. And once again, I want to thank our hosts for having given us the opportunity to take part in this ceremony. I want to talk a little bit about the virtues of tourism and, of course, of agriculture. I want to give you a number. It's a number that that we deal with during the course of the year. It's now 1.4 billion tourists that we have all over the world. Excuse me, tourism income. 30% of tourism income, 30 to 35%, is agricultural tourism. It's a very large number, and this is the first time in history of tourism and of agriculture when we have signed such an agreement. Again, this is a landmark day for us. It's a historical moment. We as a United Nations agency pursue the Sustainable Development Objectives. Our objective and our work, and we've heard so many things today, but I think you will understand, is to create new jobs. This is our number one objective, and there is no better way to do it than through tourism and agriculture. The country where we are right now, Costa Rica, has two very important sectors. The country depends on agriculture and tourism, and I think many of you will agree with me when I say that the revenue generated by families, countries, populations depends very much on tourism and agriculture. This is why, at the worldwide level, next year we will be announcing that it is the year of rural tourism and ecotourism. I think this is the best time and the best place to announce that, and it's a pleasure for me to stand before ministers from 34 countries, ministers of agriculture, to talk about tourism development and the relationship between tourism and agriculture. I would like to propose to the Director General that we think together about holding an event or an encounter of ministers of agriculture with ministers of tourism. It would be very successful because there are so many things we are already doing, so many ideas we share. I can't even explain it all to you at this point, but following up on the project that we called 10 Minutes of Coffee, we talked about that. This young businesswoman who talked about her project, having heard that, she's talking about how to export her coffee. In January, we will be opening an online project under which any entrepreneur in the world can have direct access to restaurants. This is an exclusive product because we're talking here about organically grown or environmentally friendly coffee. And even more important than that, we're talking about young people, young business people who work in the sector and want to export. We could also help this type of project, help to export to the large restaurant chains and supermarkets and gain more international visibility. We focus very much on innovation and investment, which is so important. You need to invest more in tourism and the future of tourism, which is not always in the capital cities. It's out in the regions, in the provinces. So it's an important year that's coming up, when we will be able to work together and do some very interesting things. Again, our goal is to foster growth of new jobs. Thank you, all of you, for being here. We are greatly interested in cooperating with your sector, and I have no doubt whatsoever that we will do important things together. Mr. Minister, thank you for being here on this occasion. I also want to thank Mary Stuhl, who we've been talking to, and this is such a good opportunity for us all to talk to each other. So we are delighted to be here, as I said before, and I wish you great success in your next 2 days of meeting. We know that it will be productive, and so I want to thank you for your attention. We will now hear from Manuel Otero, Director General of ICA. I think I'm having trouble with your surname, so I will call you Friend Judav. First of all, I think it's an excellent idea for us to be thinking about the year of rural tourism and ecotourism 2020, and we would love for ICA to be the host of an encounter between ministers of agriculture and ministers of tourism if the Board of Ministers agrees. I have some dreams of my own, and I would like to share them with you to see if we can make some progress. A friend of mine from the Diplomatic Corps said, "Why don't you propose as an activity, the Rum Road as a tourism activity through the countries of Central America and the Caribbean, like the wine road, it would be the rum road." I've been talking to some of the ministers, and we talked again about agritourism, an area where ICA does have some experience. I have another dream, which is that ICA in the United States would conduct its first technical cooperation activity for the benefit of the United States, specifically to set up something like the Bourbon Road in the state of Kentucky. Secretary Sonny Perdue has set priority on this subject, and as Director General, I would be deeply honored to be able to work together with the WTO on this specific type of technical cooperation activity. Thank you. Thank you to the authorities who have been taking part. We would now invite the honorable officers of the meeting to take your seats in the auditorium so we can enjoy together the cultural activity.
Seguidamente,
it is a pleasure for us to introduce this cultural activity by the Guitar Quartet of Costa Rica, made up of Edmundo Núñez, Manuel Duran, Nicolás Alvarado, and Julio Monge. They have worked very hard to provide you with an innovative program in the field of chamber music, and also to encourage the development and dissemination of Costa Rican music. Their repertoire consists of pieces originally composed for guitar, and also they have pieces that have been adapted with arrangements from universal music from different times and historical ages. Traditional, classic, popular, seizing on the resources and versatility of the guitar. They have also been involved in national and international festivals. In 2018, the Ministry of Culture and Youth granted them the National Music Award, Carlos Enrique Vargas. They will play the following pieces: A4 by the Costa Rican composer Jose Arias, Kumba King by the American composer Carlos Rafael Rivera, and Caribbean Night by the Costa Rican composer Edwin Solis. This is the Costa Rican Guitar Quartet.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. This concludes our solemn inaugural ceremony, and we invite you to join us at a reception which is being hosted by the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture in honor of the Ministers of Agriculture of the Americas, the heads of mission, their delegations, the associate country observers and special guests. You are all welcome to join us, and we wish you a good evening.